I am submitting my application for the video to the Trump administration as the video game czar. Now, this position is going to be used predominantly against the AAA gaming companies in the West, for they have failed to uphold the wishes of its consumers. And in many cases, they've actively attacked the consumers in every way, shape, or form. The people that put food on their table, the people that ensure they get the pay they want and the jobs they want and the jobs they covet. Because that's the problem. These people, they covet these jobs in entertainment, and it comes at the cost of the consumer. So, this is my application on the 13th of February, 2025. Let's get into it. I don't have intro music, so pretend there's some cool intro music playing. Yeah, whatever. So, on the first thing, and this will probably be a multiple part series, and I'll upload this 500 word document, though it might not be 500 words. Most of these are just things I thought about while sitting on the toilet taking a shit. Let's get into it. And the reason I'm doing this is because of the Elon Musk tweet saying that video game journalism is a scam and is dead. And I made sure to add a little bit of them to this document. And this is mainly a rubric and is subject to change, but I think this fully encapsulates, what the consumers have been dealing with in the past 5 or 6 years. So, consultants. The thing with consultants is that they're outsourcing their storytelling and outsourcing their certain like art and certain facets of storytelling and gaming to other companies, and this was done to suck up government grants. Because this is what happened, right? They gamified things like diversity, things like inclusion, and the more of this you had in the game, the higher your, I guess at the time, it's ESG scores, but the higher your woke score was, for lack of a better word. And this was done like they would change characters, they would change settings, they would change stories. Instead of creating your own, they would latch on to stories like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and just inject things into these. And I feel like if you had these, and this is going to be a later thing, there's government grants to up to 900 million to a trillion dollars that should be given to companies that would actively seek original storytelling and storylines and plot lines. And this would definitely help games like, say, a game I'm playing. It's called Forever Winter. It's an amazing game, but games like black companies like Black Myth Wukong, Space Marines 2, games that were critically acclaimed, and that people like, Elden Ring. If you make good games and if you sold a lot of games, you should be effectively rewarded because this is the good spreading of your culture. Now, this is particularly for Western games, but we shouldn't not exclude game science from Black Myth Wukong. So, if you use consultants for any reason to outsource your storytelling, you are not eligible for this American culture grant, which is what I'm calling it. Because America used to spread its culture through entertainment, and though Americans did not understand the effect that culture had in games and movies and TV shows, because these things were for nerds, other places on the planet absolutely understood. Right? So, if you use consultants for any reason, you will not get this money. You should have people in house to make these stories and competent people within house to make these stories. Another point, devs that talk smack about their consumers for any reason, the gamers, for any reason, $100 million fine plus a $20 million added on for repeat offenders. You are a gaming company. You should act like a gaming company. You should act like adults. I don't care if the consumer is being unreasonable. You do not exist to talk down to the consumers. As a company, as a gaming company, as an entertainment company, you only have the power to meet the expectations of the consumers. No more, no less. If you're talking smack, you get fucking fined. If community managers talk smack, or they or they talk smack to the consumer and people in their community, or they try to get political and try to ideologically grandstand. For example, you had community managers kick that Lords of the Fallen CEO out of its own fucking subreddit because it's effectively this, I guess, hostile takeover. And what did he do? The CEO just did a poll, and he's like, "Oh, do you want male or female, body type A and B?" And he asked the consumer. The consumer said they want male and female. And these community managers, for some reason, had this hostile takeover of his own fucking subreddit. And for another example is the Trench Crusaders community managers. For some reason, they're also attacking their consumers, their people, their constituents, the people that would have paid money for your project, that because you'd rather take this ideological stance for whatever reason, I don't care the reason, even if you get your personal fee-fees hurt, don't know, don't care, you are in no way, shape, or form should talk smack, grandstand over the very people that put food on your fucking table. And if you do this, $50 million fine or the immediate removal of said community or subreddit. I don't care, regardless of the platform. And like I said, this is just a rubric. We can go further, we can remove some of these, but I think this is acceptable. You know, people don't like this idea that you think you know better than the very people who put food on your fucking table because you believe you did not ration yourself into this position. This is purely ideological to believe you know better than the very people that put food on your fucking table. And I don't care the reason. If they're, unless they're breaking any laws, breaking any rules, you're not their mother, you're not their father. You are the community manager. You're there to make sure they don't, say edgy, right, or they don't act toxic, said edgy stuff, whatever. So, but if you start to get political, you get that shit the fuck out of here, and yeah, that's just what's going to happen. Also, if actors, voice actors, devs, anyone associated with your company talk smack on social media for any reason against your consumers, $20 million fine per repeat offender. This is something that has been happening in the past 4 years where people think they know better than the people that put food on their table. Well, this stops now, and we'll ensure this does stop, with or without you wanting us to do it. Other things on this. This is probably going to be part one. Remakes, remasters, prequels, sequels, DLC expansion packs, and the price thereof should not exceed half the price of the original product. So, for example, you have Elden Ring. I think it was $70. Yeah, I think it was $70. Therefore, if this was to happen, Shadows of the Erdtree would be $35, right? Or if it was $60, it would be $30. And this is done because personal reasons. I don't care for remakes. I don't care for remasters. I don't care for prequels. And I don't care for sequels. and you're already using, the base rubric of the game to effectively create the game again, man, with like different stories, with different. And I don't think the consumer would really have a problem with this. I mean, if it sells, you should easily make that money back, right? So yeah, where are we? Oh, failure to do that could result in a $100 million fine or the removal of said game. Pre-orders should be refundable for any reason, right? If you and this is because companies do this thing, right? And this is the thing that Stellar Blade did, where they censored their outfits on a day one patch, and people got mad, signed a petition, and they brought it back. And hey, petitions are a good thing when they work, but people should be allowed to have their pre-orders refunded. I don't care how much money they spend. I don't care what time period it's spent on. Like, it should just be able to be refunded if you make any changes or any, last minute decisions. Just sell things on one premise and you end up having a completely different premise. I don't care. You should be able to refund your pre-orders. Early access for games should not exceed a third of the original price for the game. I'm doing this because a game called Total War Warhammer 3 released as $70 in fucking early access, and it was abysmal. Then the Immortal Empires DLC thing came out, and it ended up just being better. Look, if your game's in early access, under no circumstances should it be more than $20 because you're pretty much saying, oh hey, we're selling the game for this price and we're going to add things level. If you're going to sell a third of a game, it should be a third of the price. Now, when the full game comes out, sure, make it $60, $70. I don't care because hey, the full game's out. And another point is early access periods should not exceed 1 year of the release of early access. So, if your game's in early access, it should stay for that for just 1 year. Or maybe if you need any extensions, whatever, you can, I don't know. I think Steam's doing a thing where if a game's on early access for a certain amount of time, they tell the consumer, and a lot of people got mad about this, but this is 100% in the consumer's interest. So I don't see why people are getting mad. Like, if you're the consumer and if you bought a game in early access and the game stays in early access for the entire rest of the game, like, you should know that and be like, well, what the fuck, man? Like, you gonna release this game or not? Now, this will fuck Star Citizen, but hey, I mean, they did a poll, and people were like, yeah, keep adding to the game, and I guess the game's released now, but will it ever fully release? Who knows? Who cares? With these rules, it better release in a fucking year. But yeah, there might be things added, things subtracted, but this is my application, part 1 out of 3 or 4 for the video game Tzar. So that's all I really got to say about this. I'll be awaiting the response of the presidency or Elon Musk or whoever. Alright, peace.